Tony D and Little Joan with Screenwriter's Rant on Freedom's Path, movie that takes place in the Civil War. I think it's about a group of ex-slaves or slaves who help a kid, and then later, I don't know. It's a bit of a confusing trailer, but it's got a lot of elements in it. There's a lot of drama, some action. So I think it could be maybe decent. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Thanks for checking out my books. The links are in the description. Comedy horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys. Books 1 through 10. See you on Sunday at Blue Rascal Distillery in Hamilton, New Jersey from 4 to 6. I'll be doing a signing. Okay. So, it doesn't really give you too many plot details. Just kind of shows you a bunch of scenes. I think this kid gets injured, and then the decision by these guys is, well, do we help him or do we just leave him in the woods to die? I think they were fleeing. I think they were slaves that got away in that process. So they save him, or at least this guy does, brings him back to his house or his relative's house, I'll assume. And they're free now. And I guess that's before the war, and he recovers. And then, of course, there's a guy who's hunting the slaves, and he is very, very racist, as you might imagine in a movie. I don't know who this guy is. They don't really establish. And then I'm not sure what's going on. It doesn't really make it clear. But then the Civil War happens later in the trailer, and I think they're both in the Union Army. And here's a scene where he's dancing with everybody and having a good time. And then later he's fighting in the war, and I guess he gets shot? I don't know. Is he shot and then the slaves find him? I don't know. It's kind of a confusing trailer. Now, that being said, there's a lot here. There's a lot going on. So it looks fairly epic. I don't know. And there's scenes of almost every character. It looks like they may have died, like this last scene here, but I'm not sure. It's called Freedom's Path. Let's see if I can read any of this. Jeez. You put the credits up. If you can't read them, what's the point? Written and directed by Brett Smith. Okay, that I could see, because they put a little square around Brett Smith, who's also one of the producers. Do I recognize any of the cast? Nah, I don't know any of these guys. So, Brett Smith doing all the heavy lifting. February 3rd. I mean, it looks like it has enough material for like a 10-hour miniseries epic. Because it has a scene where they save him in the woods and he's not wearing a uniform, and then later looks like he's fighting in the war. So I'm not sure. From a purely dramatic movie sense, I feel like it's got some drama in it that seems to be worth it, because you have these slaves like, oh, just leave them, and they save him anyway, and that's pretty good, right? I mean, that's like a good dramatic moment. Like, they don't have any reason to save him because they got to get going. So they save him, and that shows you, wow, these guys are, or at least one of them, he really risked it all to save this guy. And then later he's very mad at him, which I think is a little rough. I mean, if you're going to go to trouble, all the trouble to risk your life to save a guy, and then later you're just screaming at him, ah! And then later he calls him a coward. I'm not quite sure why. It doesn't make it clear in the trailer. Here he is recovering at his place. But they seem to put a lot on this character. I'm not sure who he's supposed to represent, or if that's part of the deal. But from a dramatic standpoint, it seems to be about their friendship. So the interracial friendship in a time when everything was horribly racist. Um, this is a nice shot. I like this shot a lot. He lifts up the gun and fires it. I'm not quite sure why, and then he collapses. So, again, I'm not sure what's. It seems to be a lot going on in this movie, like a lot of events. I can't pinpoint any specific historical moments, and it doesn't seem like the slave chaser is like the main villain. It seems to be like he just seems to be like one of many characters they encounter along the way. Although maybe it is. It's hard to tell. So it's kind of a confusing trailer. I think as a trailer, it needed a voiceover. Like, something like before the Civil War, and then establish like maybe this is right before the war or during the Civil War. A friendship that endured. A friendship that endured, gentlemen. All right, you want to get in on this? There you go. So I think it's about their friendship, which is why I kind of think, despite the sort of randomness of the scenes, it kind of almost holds together. Like their relationship sort of brings you through, which is why I think it seems like it could be decent. I mean, I'm going out on a limb by saying that. It's kind of hard to tell from this trailer, but I mean, it looks a little more inspiring than, say, Emancipation, which just looked depressing. Because at least you have these two characters who are friends and go through a big long journey, and then you can kind of get behind that and their friendship. Although I can't tell if they all die because it seems like they all do. That would be depressing. The title doesn't really help. Freedom's Path. I mean, it kind of works. But yeah, get a voiceover going here, guys. Get a voiceover. Tell us when this is. It's kind of important, or who this guy is, why they would bother to save him. Because if he's not a Union soldier in the beginning, and I don't think he is, who the hell is he? Was he a farmhand? Just a random guy they ran into? Did this guy try to help him? Help the slaves escape, and that's why he got injured? Or was he a slave owner? Was he one of the guys chasing the slaves, and then he turns around? Something. Tell us who the hell he is. It just seems like a random white guy the slaves save, I guess. So, would I see it? I mean, it's the kind of movie I would need more info about. Yeah. I mean, it's historic. I don't mind historic movies. I think they've kind of... These tend to be... The Civil War movies tend to be kind of all the same. They're either cut from, like... It's either Dances with Wolves or Pale Rider, where, like, the Civil War is really just a backdrop to launch the rest of the movie. Or it's an entire deep dive into, the Civil War. The former I like better than the latter because I like those kinds of movies. They're more action oriented. A deep dive into the Civil War. I mean, watch Razor Fist video if you want to get a deep dive into that era. And you see that a lot of historical movies, especially on a hot button topic like this now, just, it's like it jibes with the 8th grade history education most people have. It doesn't really dig down into the nuance too deep. And I wish it did. I wish people were better informed. I think if they did make a movie that really dramatized what actually happened, people, because movies have that ability to remember stuff in a movie, then you could really get a sense of the time. And I think in the case of this particular era, they're too busy virtue signaling to care. Not that they're not on the right side of history, but it was a lot more complex than that, and it's been over 100 years. I mean, can we finally set aside some stuff and actually do a deep dive and say, yeah, nobody was really a great guy in that era. Nobody's a great guy in this era. Nobody's a great guy. Okay, as a friend of mine once famously said to me, and it always stuck with me: everybody's an ass. It's true. You are, I am, everybody is, but not Doggy. First act. I guess they find this kid injured somewhere, and they decide to help him, or at least one of the guys does. There's some contention about it. He recovers. Second act, I'm not sure. Maybe the slave chasers come, and they have to run away, or they have to fight them. Third act, I think they both join the Union. Union Army, and fight in the war. Where, I don't know what happens to him. Or it may be a journey about the kid they save and how he goes from being scared all the time to being brave enough to enlist in the war, where he's either horribly injured or he's killed. I don't know. There's somebody getting blown up there. It's kind of hard to tell. There he is, firing the gun. Would I watch it? February 3rd? I might. Not super high on the top of my list. So, it's kind of a lukewarm recommendation, but what do you want from me? The trailer really needed a voiceover to kind of tie it in. And that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. We got 2 other videos. Don't miss them. I'll be at the Blue Rascal Distillery on Sunday. Hope to see you there in Hamilton, New Jersey. And we'll see you tomorrow.